Good morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. Welcome to WHAM Today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Sunday, 8th June 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. China faces a complex economic situation, marked by export challenges and domestic deflation. Exports saw a modest increase of 4.8% in May, falling short of expectations, while exports to the US experienced a dramatic decline of over 34%, the largest since 2020. Consumer prices in China have continued to fall, intensifying deflationary concerns, with consumer price inflation dropping by 0.1% year-on-year in May. This has led to a strategic focus on manufacturing and exports to offset weak domestic consumption. The electric vehicle EV market in China is embroiled in an intense price war, particularly in the budget segment, with many EVs under 150,000 yuan, attracting buyers due to subsidies. Geely Auto, led by Chairman Li Shufu, is halting new plant construction to address excess capacity, shifting its focus to technology. Brewed and other Chinese EV makers are expanding into Europe's small car market. Nomura is closing its branch in China, scaling back its wealth management operations. China's dominance in rare earth minerals continues to be a point of contention in US-China trade discussions. The United States is actively pursuing renewed trade negotiations with China. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and China's Vice Premier He Lifeng met in Geneva for trade talks, with further discussions planned in London. U.S. stock futures remain stable in anticipation of these trade talks. Turning to Taiwan, the nation recently conducted Coast Guard and military drills in Kaohsiung, overseen by President Lai Ching-te. These drills simulated a response to the seizure of a ferry by international terrorists and are designed to address China's gray zone threat. Meanwhile, in Russia, leaked intelligence identifies China as a potential adversary. The leaked documents accuse China of targeting Russian technology, territory, and scientists, exposing underlying tensions between the two nations. India's stock market is currently buoyant, with the Nifty Bank index surpassing 57,000 after surprising rate cuts by the Reserve Bank of India, RBI. GIFT Nifty is trading around 25,175, signaling a premium of approximately 80 points over Nifty Futures' previous closing. Experts believe mid-sized banks stand to gain from improved liquidity conditions. MEX share price has soared over 5%, reaching a record 7,820 after SEBI's approval for electricity derivatives, positioning MEX as a pioneer in India's energy trading sector. MAF has reclaimed its status as India's most expensive stock, surpassing LSID investments, indicating robust investor confidence. India and Sri Lanka are discussing dual listing to establish a financial bridge between their respective capital markets, aiming to boost economic collaboration. The National Manufacturing Mission is projected to invigorate the manufacturing sector, encouraging growth and innovation. Over the past 11 years, India has experienced a notable surge in digital transactions, embracing a shift towards a cashless economy. Hong Kong is a focal point in HSBC's strategic expansion. HSBC is intensifying its investment banking activities across Asia and the Middle East, especially in IPOs. This move is part of HSBC's broader restructuring plan, which involves prioritizing high-yield markets such as Hong Kong and India, while simultaneously reducing its presence in less profitable markets. Gold prices declined by 0.61%, settling at $96,448 per 10 grams, reflecting weak global cues and soft domestic demand. Market watchers are keenly awaiting US-China trade talks and strongest jobs data, potentially signaling a pause in Federal Reserve interest rate cuts. China is preparing for trade negotiations with the United States in London, boosting Hong Kong's stock market following the release of stable economic data from Beijing. China's export growth slowed in the prior month, reflecting decreased orders from the U.S. before a 90-day tariff truce, thus underscoring ongoing challenges in its manufacturing and trade sectors. Australia's Securities Exchange, ASX, has denied allegations made by a Canadian-owned exchange looking to acquire a portion of mining stocks. Australia is also dealing with a rise in scams related to cryptocurrency ATMs, resulting in losses of about 3 million for victims. Older Australians are particularly vulnerable, which raises concerns about financial security and the necessity for strengthened consumer safeguards. Russia's military asserts its troops have reached the outskirts of the Dnipropetrovsk region in eastern Ukraine. A Russian strike on Kharkiv caused 3 fatalities. Ukraine is said to have launched drone attacks near Moscow, resulting in 2 injuries. Moscow states it intercepted 10 Ukrainian drones aimed at the city, pointing to continuous aerial combat and reciprocal measures. Disagreements persist regarding the prospect of peace talks. Adding a layer of intrigue, Elon Musk's father, attended a Kremlin-supported event in Moscow, voicing praise for Vladimir Putin and spreading Russian propaganda. In a development with wider implications, leaked Russian intelligence indicates Moscow considers China the enemy, exposing concerns within the Kremlin about China's increasing power and action. Ukraine is set to bolster its defense capabilities through a partnership with Renault, which plans to manufacture drones within the country. Meanwhile, ongoing conflict sees Ukraine claiming the destruction of 13 Russian tanks and 100 armored vehicles. Regarding financial strategy, Ukraine is against using frozen Russian assets to compensate Western investors. Turning to the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has appealed to Nvidia's Jensen Huang for AI training initiatives to enhance the skill set of the British workforce. Parallel to this, UK Finance Minister Rachel Reeves is scheduled to meet with China's Vice Premier in London, indicating potential talks on economic collaborations and financial matters. South Korea is navigating a complex economic landscape, with President Yoon Suk-yeol pushing for measures to control inflation and rising prices, hinting at possible government involvement. Investor confidence appears robust as deposits into the stock market have climbed to 60 trillion won. The alternative stock exchange is also drawing increased attention from foreign investors, suggesting a broadening market appeal. Adding to the dynamic environment, activist retail investors are becoming more vocal, pressing corporations to improve governance and boost shareholder returns. In cultural news, the musical Maybe Happy Ending has made history by winning a Tony Award, a landmark achievement for South Korean theatrical arts. Saudi Arabia's non-oil private sector shows accelerated growth as indicated by the May II, highlighting successful economic diversification. However, the country has paused issuing block work visas for Indian and other foreign workers, impacting international labor mobility. In the realm of sports business, Jeff Jarrett foresees WrestleMania being hosted in Saudi Arabia in the future, signaling the event's potential global expansion. Furthermore, Tottenham has accepted a 184.2 billion won bid for Son Heung-min, who is contemplating a move to a Saudi club, fueling discussions about his career and Saudi club's growing impact on global football. Japan is experiencing increased foreign investor interest after a decade-long push for governance reforms, indicating that efforts to improve corporate governance are beginning to yield positive results. The Nikkei stock average saw a surge, fueled by a rally in chip stocks ahead of planned Sino-US trade talks, demonstrating the Japanese market's sensitivity to global economic events. Separately, Japan's Ishiba and South Korea's Lee have vowed to boost highs in their first call, signaling intentions to strengthen diplomatic relations and collaboration between the two nations. Turning to South Korea, Lee Jae-myung and Shigeru Ishiba conducted their inaugural phone call, emphasizing the need to fortify relations between South Korea and Japan. This follows the recent thawing of tensions between the two countries, suggesting a move towards improved diplomatic ties. In the latest from Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is facing scrutiny over the Arrivacan app controversy, with increasing calls for accountability regarding the app's cost and effectiveness. The app, initially designed to streamline border crossings during the pandemic, has been criticized for its high development costs and alleged glitches. Moving to the United States, the Biden administration is preparing for upcoming trade talks with China, aiming to address trade imbalances and intellectual property concerns. These talks are seen as crucial for managing the complex economic relationship between the United States and China. The Asian markets experienced a surge, buoyed by anticipation of upcoming trade negotiations between the United States and China in London, coupled with investor responses to recent U.S. employment figures. Recognizing the burgeoning opportunities in Asia and the Middle East, HSBC is strategically scaling up its investment banking operations to capitalize on the growing appetite for IPOs within these dynamic regions. In India, several companies, including Nelco, Asian Paints, Tata Elxsi Ltd, Indian Bank, Johnson Controls, Hitachi Air Conditioning India Limited and Tata Investment Corporation Limited, traded ex-dividend today and tomorrow, marking a significant event for investors focused on dividend payout. Canada recently extended a G7 invitation to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This suggests a potential warming of diplomatic ties. Meanwhile, DL Express initiated a worker lockout, disrupting parcel delivery services across Canada. The U.S. envoy is also keeping a close watch on Canada's defense spending. This highlights the ongoing importance of NATO contributions. Turning to France, President Macron is under pressure amid ongoing pension reform. Public discontent continues to simmer. Simultaneously, France is bolstering its military presence in Eastern Europe. This move aims to reassure allies amidst rising tensions in the region. In Germany, the government unveiled a new climate action plan. The plan aims to accelerate the country's transition to renewable energy. It also includes measures to reduce carbon emissions across various sectors. Shifting focus to India, Prime Minister Modi's acceptance of the G7 invitation from Canada signals a potential shift in India's foreign policy. The country is also grappling with rising inflation, and the central bank is considering further measures to stabilize prices. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, intense fighting continues in the eastern regions. International aid is crucial to support the country's defense efforts. Negotiations for a peaceful resolution remain stalled. European markets are poised for an upswing as trade discussions between the US and China are set to occur in London. These talks are being closely watched for their potential influence on the global economy. Despite this anticipation, European stocks saw a modest dip after Christine Lagarde's remarks dampened hopes for aggressive interest rate reductions from the European Central Bank. Israel has ordered its military to intercept a charity yacht. The yacht carries activists, including Greta Thunberg. They are attempting to breach the Israeli blockade of Gaza. In other news, Israel announced the recovery of Mohammed Sinwar's body. Sinwar was a Hamas commander. This marks a significant development in the conflict. Africa. Nigeria is increasingly leveraging its capital market to fund long-term infrastructure projects. This includes offering Nigerian citizens the opportunity to invest in shares of the Dangote refinery. South Africa is seeing advancements that contribute to a more developed and sophisticated financial ecosystem. Asia. Pakistan is preparing to unveil its economic survey for 2024-25 on Monday, offering insights into the country's economic performance and future outlook. In Saudi Arabia, 480 Nigerian pilgrims were fortunate to escape a fire that broke out at their hotel. Australia, Mumu has launched in New Zealand, providing investors with a wider range of trading options, including U.S. stock trades starting at USD $0.99. Political and economic uncertainty in the U.S. could negatively impact Australian super funds, with concerns that potential riots in Los Angeles could worsen the situation. Europe, Spain is seeing increased political tension due to large-scale rallies in Madrid, with opposition parties calling for early elections. Italy and Greece are currently experiencing favorable conditions in the bond market, which is strengthening investor confidence. The outlook for German stocks may become more challenging in the near future. Switzerland is contemplating sharing cryptocurrency data with partner nations that meet specific regulatory criteria. Recent events have prompted Switzerland to place restrictions on UBSE's international expansion plans. External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar is engaging in discussions with the EU and advocating for stronger defense ties with France, particularly following Operation Sindor. South America. In Colombia, Senator Miguel Uribe, considered a possible presidential contender, was shot in Bogota but successfully underwent surgery. North America. The United States has domestic reserves of rare earth elements, but there is a risk of losing access to them. Bolivia is declining to allow Elon Musk's Starlink to operate within its borders, despite significant demand for enhanced internet services in remote areas. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.